Okay, so I was born in 1973 in San Diego, down in Logan Heights area. My mom and her family are from Logan, and not to say that was a gang, that was actually a barrio, that was just a neighborhood. Um, and being in that community right there, I remember the Chicano movement was happening. Growing up in that environment where a lot of civil rights was really at its peak, and Rachel Ortiz doing her thing at the barrio station and stuff like that. Now, my father's side of the family are from Shelltown, and not to say that there was a vision, because at that time, Logan and Shelltown and Sherman and all these barrios used to get together to form a community to actually build that park. So that park was a representation of the Chicano movement. So that's part of the community there. But also remember that in those times in the 70s, there was a lot of drugs going around, the LSDs, I don't know if those hippies running around still, but everybody was getting high. So I think my father got to dib and dab with a little bit of the those drugs, and he got hooked at a young age. Him and his friends, and I'm not gonna badmouth them because I know that trap. I know what it is today, but at the time I just didn't understand that. Why would a father leave his family, to pursue that? So I end up not knowing who my father was. Well, I knew who he was, just not have a relationship with that person. And my mom, I remember at an early age, had to leave San Diego in fear of her for her life, because one of my uncles uh, did a couple of crimes, heinous crimes, and he had to do life in prison for these things. And my mom had to leave because they were going to retaliation, probably, kill her. So my mom did the best thing, was to leave me with my grandmother and my grandfather. Now my grandfather's Italian. Now he was one of those. I don't know. He was kind of a strange character. He was just kind of hard, just hard by nature, not a loving person. My grandmother was very hard in hearing. She couldn't hear if I were having a conversation, so she would try to read lips, and we come up with our own sign language. So it was kind of one of those, artistical ways of communication. But she showed her communication by love. It was like a genuinely felt love that I got from my grandmother. So I remember that my tias used to come into the house once in a while, and I used to ask them, "Hey, are you my mom? Hey, are you mom? No, I'm not your mom." So and my aunt would even tell me, "Yeah, I used to say, F you, get the hell out of here, F you." And I was about maybe 4 years old. They'll leave the house. At damn, Robert's like really upset. He wants to meet his mom, and I don't know who my mom was. Yeah, I remember little glimpses and visions of who my mom was, but I didn't know. And this happened till maybe I was about 8 years old. But before she came back into the picture, my grandmother and my grandfather went from Logan down to National City. I believe my mom was there, and something happened. She had to take off. And from National City, I grew up there in that little neighborhood, went down to San Isidro. And my grandmother all along used to teach me about the Bible. And she was very fearful that the fact that I might turn out like my uncle, and commit some crimes. So she was very um, dousing the word of God in me, reading the Bible, giving me that structure. And I remember going to school. And by the way, I just really had to say this part too, because I kind of, before I learned that last time we were talking, but we were poor. We didn't have much. Um, she lived on a very fixed income, Social Security, and those real dollar food stamps. And if you got those things wet, they were no good. You had to bring the whole book with you. I remember you used to signing notes for cigarettes.
I remember
I don't know
that.
if you remember that, right? Just little cigarette notes. He had sell my son some cigarettes for my grandfather, obviously. And so those were the days were kind of a little more innocent. I remember San Isidro just being an open, wide community. In the background, there used to be lakes and ponds. We used to go fishing when I was young. And there was a rec center out in the back on West Hall. And I remember my grandmother used to always go in the alley in the back of the house. And it was a very small little house, very, very small, smaller than this room, like half the size of this room. And she used to go every whatever it was, trash day. And she used to go to the alley picking out of the trash cans. And she'll come home with some furniture and sometimes and some clothing, stuff that might fit me. And I remember going to Willow Elementary School, And one of the kids said, "Hey, man, that's my old shirt. We threw that away. Ah, ha, ha. You picking out of our trash can, huh? Yeah, yeah." So they used to start teasing me, and I didn't have nice clothes, but we had clothes. And I remember kids distinctly just start teasing me about it. Uh, and then I used to tell them, "Hey, you know what? God wants us to behave like this. If we could kind of, get along." And they said, "Oh yeah, the Bible boy." That's what they used to call me. They ended up picking up the name Bible boy for me. And I used to always get teased for being a pocho. I didn't know Spanish that well. The household spoke English primarily. And I remember that going to school was kind of a hard thing because getting teased and bullied. At one particular time, I remember that the bullies just gang up on me after school. So it was kind of hard because I was kind of fearful of getting attacked every time I got out of school. It was just a routine for them. They saw me, they knew who I was, they knew I was going to fight because my grandmother always asked me and begged me, "Do not fight. Whatever you do, don't fight." So I listened to my grandmother, so I didn't fight because, she didn't want me to be up like my uncle. And I remember that the kids used to wait outside. And so I used to ask the teacher, "Hey, teacher, do you mind if I just stay in your classroom for about 15, 20 minutes? I'll help you clean the chalkboard and, sweep or whatever it is around the classroom." So my teacher was kind enough to let me do that so I could buy time for me and the other kids so they could walk home and it put that gap in between me and them. So that way I could walk home by myself safely. And well, they caught on. So they used to wait for me. And they used to wait for me at a certain area. It's kind of blocked off from traffic. So it did catch me by myself. And man, they used to just, give me a whooping, tease me. It'd be a lot of them. Even kids that didn't go to that school used to be out there too, and here comes the Bible boy. Let's get him. And man, dude, it was just like every day, every day. And then I used to go the long way home. Had to go through the canyons almost hiding just so these kids wouldn't even try to jump me. It was becoming unbearable, if anything else. And I remember at the rec center on San Isidro in the hall, there was a karate instructor. So he saw this, what was going on with me, but he pulled me to the side. He goes, "Hey, I want to teach you some moves." So he taught me how to trip people, grabbing it. And I won't show you right now. No, I'm just kidding. So, so what happened? I put my foot out. Yeah, no. So I used to lay them on their back, these guys, and it worked. It really did. It was just a flawless move, and it helped me out in the future because my mom finally came and picked me up. She took me to Los Angeles, and prior before that, my grandfather used to always chastise me a lot, and he used to tease me a lot, or not me, but he used to say the simple fact of, "Your mom's at Disneyland drinking and dancing, ha ha ha," and he used to do that like if it was that was his routine, And and I'll say like my aunts and my uncles will even say the same thing. Yeah, my dad was kind of messed up.
Words are powerful, man.
Oh yeah, they were.
Yeah.
And my grandma used to always
They can
like,
slice you.
"Oh, they hurt. They hurt bad, and especially when you're young. You don't have anything else but those kind of things. So I was getting it at school, and I was getting it at home. You know what I mean? But I had that balance with grandma. And you know what? It might even be different incidences, but the good thing is we understand it's the same pain. And it derives from the same pain we all get systematically, pulled from. It could be from your home, it could be in prison, it could be different areas, but we still feel that loneliness, we still feel that rejection, and all these other things that might come about in our lives. And this is system impacts. Um, so what I wanted to mention was that my mom finally came and picked me up, scooped me up, took me to Los Angeles, and she was doing well for herself. She was working um, as a security up in the Air Force, and she was learning how to use a gun, and I think she was a sergeant by then. So she was doing pretty well for herself. She really did her thing. What I didn't understand is, she was actually going through her stuff, and today we end up finding out. I'm not talking bad about mom, by the way, you guys, because I love her, and I think this is the main reasons why I couldn't even talk about my stories because of my mom. But she was very physically abusive towards me, and she'll have her drinks, and she was bipolar. We didn't know that then, but the extreme version of the bipolar, because she was raised by my grandfather too.
Right. And
so that she had the same. I felt it. I got a piece of that, and it's nothing funny. I mean, now I can laugh and smile about it, but then it's like, whoa, damn, that was kind of hardcore. So she was raised by the same grandparents. I mean, the parents I was raised. We actually, believe it or not, my mom and I and even my uncles even say that we're more like a brother and sister relationship. We really are. We really feel genuinely like we're brothers and sisters, even though you're my uncles. And they said the same thing back. They're like, no, you're like my brother, my little brother,
Yeah.
because I was raised by my grandparents.
Yeah.
And well, she takes me up to Los Angeles, right? And she doesn't really know what's happening with me other than the fact that I missed her. And I remember going to school there too, and it was the same thing. They didn't call me Bible boy then, but it could be another thing. Just getting, semi picked on. Um, but they're more the black community then. Um, and in San Isidro, there was all Hispanics. So I'll say about 100% rate of Hispanics. And over in Los Angeles, like a 50-50. And excuse me. And so I remember the gangs were coming out at that point. The Bloods and the Crips. My babysitter, um, she was from New York. And actually, her best friend was Thelma on Good Times. I don't know if you remember AJ Good Times. What her best friend was Thelma. I met her. Um, but anyways, make a long story short. So I was in LA, getting all that, the gangs and whatever it was, and the I'll have to say this too with the gangs over there, the black community is a little bit more aggressive than what I was used to. They had a different mentality. They dish out some pretty bad weapons on you if you got out of line. If not, they'll, I don't want to say they'll take you out because I was so young, but they still were showing that hardness in the school and in elementary. And I remember using that move. We just tripped somebody. And I remember a long time ago, somebody got on my waist and just pounded my face and wouldn't stop until he got tired and got off me. He did one of those moves
And
on me.
this is LA, right?
And like, this was San Diego when I got my butt whooped as far as this guy's punching my face. Mm-hmm. But in LA, I go up there and I learned that trip move. And this guy.
What particular neighborhood?
This was Inglewood.
Oh, Inglewood.
Inglewood and Culver City, but this was Inglewood here. Some dude just comes up to me, and I had two little black friends, and man, I remember them playing with them all the time. And this dude just comes up to me and just tries to bully me. So I trip him, trip him. He keeps getting up, and then last time I just tripped him again. It got on his belly, his chest, and started punching him until I got tired. So I gave this kid a whooping that I've always received, and my friends were saying, "Hey, Robert, that was a school bully. No one could ever beat him up. You're the first guy that ever beat him up." And I was feeling kind of scared, but happy at the same time because I felt like I'm going to get retaliation. But this kid, he kind of didn't mess with me anymore. And my friends were like, "Hey, yeah, we got ourselves a nice, guy right here, man. He beat up the bully. He's our friend now. So I got that little reputation at the elementary school. Mom, and I'll get that to that in a second. My mom, found out that this was happening with Hyman. There's an older gang member who took me in and all this stuff. So she got kind of scared. She was like, "Oh my God, what they're going to do to my son? They're going to transforming him into this, this person." And she doesn't recognize me anymore because I got tired of her hitting me. And I ran away. I used to run away. I didn't want to be around. I didn't want to be at that house. I wouldn't felt love. Even though she loved me, I know she did, but she didn't know how to demonstrate that love, and so I left. I got tired of getting beat up. I got tired of getting yelled at. I didn't want to go. Like, if I wanted that, I could just find that in the streets, but I found more love in the streets versus at home. So what she said, well, I'm going to give it another shot. So she ended up taking me or moving to San Isidro. And from there, she was kind of hopeful that the fact that I would calm down because San Isidro was a time where I was kind of calm that she knew of, So she moved down there and I ended up going to, what was it called? San Isidro Middle School. So I'm still in the 7th grade, by the way. And I remember going to school the first day, the kids came out of the woodwork. They said, "Jump me." The same group of kids, we're going to that school because we're the same age. And they recognized me. Hey, that's the Bible boy. And once I heard that sound, I turned around. I said, "Oh, look at you." And it was on. And I start going after them. And I individually start beating them up, and I got them very scared. And
so you went from getting bullied to now being the bully.
To being the bully, in my friend, I didn't like bullies, but I wanted to show them that I'm not that weak person that they thought I was. And I wanted to give them a little bit of something that I went through.
And that gave you a sense of empowerment
It did,
and power
over them.
over them.
And I gave them so much fear. I really did at the time. I was very evil at the time, I have to say too.
Mhm.
And I gave them fear, like I'm going to really hurt them bad. And so they used to tell their older brothers. They had way older brothers, and their community is pretty tight. And I hope you understand that this is no insult to San Isidro or anything like that. But you know what happened is their brothers come after me, and they said retaliate. But then Goofy and all them found out that they're coming after, so they went down there to go break it up. So they showed their presence, and they're like, okay, this is escalating to something really big. So they took me from San Isidro back over to East San Diego, where I'm more safe, because over there I'm causing a ruckus. And from there, I remember Febe on my birthday, and this is David's Robert I's mom, and Cool Cat was shaving my head bald for my birthday. He was supposed to just give me a regular haircut, by the way, David and Shraggy, and he just ended up giving me a mohawk and just playing around. He just shaved my head. And Fabio goes, "Hey, Mijo, why did you shave your head? You're gonna get, in trouble. You're gonna get, go to jail." I'm like, "No, no, no, no. It's all right. It's having a good time. And I walk down the street and I get arrested for something I didn't even do. I promise you guys, I didn't do it. I did many things, but I did not do what they told me I did. So I get introduced to juvenile hall, the justice system, the DA, public defender, judges, making my fate, and they found me guilty. I had a police officer lie on stand, put on probation, gang suppression unit. My friends cut me off because they knew that I was a fifth waiver. They won't be able to. I won't be able to hang out with them anymore. Because if we get pulled over, they're going to actually, search the car. They're going to find whatever it is that they have. So they couldn't take those chances, but they still love me by far. Now, going from there, being on probation, back in East San Diego, start going to Horseman. By then, I'm already legitimately in a high ranking position as far as in the gangs, and start recruiting a lot of people, a lot of young men into the gang, and they're part of our community today, and a lot of us know who they are. And I would say there's roughly around 25 people that are recruited from Horseman. Um, from there, I remember um, being promoted because I was failing the grade. By the way, Horseman said, "Hey," or the counselors and got together with my probation. I would say, "Hey, look, man, he's failing the grade. He's not even going to pass. He's going to give us another year of this." They said, "No, we can't have this happen." They say, "Hey, Mr. Amata, guess what? You just graduated to the ninth grade today." I said, "Really? I got all F's." He goes, "It don't matter. You're going. You're leaving. Goodbye, Mr. Amata. You just graduated. You got promoted to the ninth grade."
Wow.
Sent me to Garfield High School, way on the other side. I lived on 54th University. Sent me to Garfield, and not even a bus pass. I had to walk it. And that was a long walk, man. I don't know if you know how far that is. That's a long walk. And so I got violated plenty of times for not being at school. Been juvenile hall a lot. Went to a foster home, group homes. Been juvenile hall a lot. Went to a foster home, group homes. Um,
So what during that process, what was that turning point there in juvenile hall?
in juvenile hall, I think the turning point was being arrested for something I didn't know. I didn't do, and that was kind of a thing where I just said, well, if I could get in trouble for something I didn't even do, then kind of like I better learn law. I better learn something about this because they could get me in trouble for nothing. So I started studying the law. Um, and when I was going to the what do you call those the foster home and the group homes, they had counseling, so I was able to talk to some people, and they weren't 100% like relatable or what I've been through, but they actually gave me a little bit of opportunity and time to talk about what I was going through, and what I was feeling. And when I couldn't even talk to a parent or someone that loved me at home, and I'm gonna say my mom didn't love me, I couldn't talk what I was going through. I couldn't express what I was going through. I didn't even know how. All I knew was like, shut up. You going through this? Be quiet. You can't talk about it. But now I'm able to talk about it. And soon after, going from Garfield, getting connected with the group homes and everything else, I remember that there was one of our counselors, Nadia Davis, Robert Darnell, had linked me up with the group homes and another place called the Teen Recovery Center. And Teen Recovery Center was a program off of Adams Avenue at the time, and had a school and counseling all day long. You show up at 8 o'clock and you leave at 6 p.m. And they were able to give me the counseling, talking about what I was going through and school. And that's when I really started studying the law. And I was about 17 by then, 16, 17. And this time I just went to the program, and I remember asking my friends like Luis Dominguez, uh, Juan Alvarado, some friends of mine from the neighborhood to come with me to school. And I told them this is a safe place where we could feel like we're safe. You know, we're not being attacked. We can actually learn something and get counseling. So they thought of the idea. They actually started going, and they loved it. They actually felt this same thing I was feeling. I was feeling the safe environment. So that's what they gave me. So from there, I remember going to the judge before I turned 18, and the judge had mentioned, "Hey, Robert, you know, that she reviewed my whole file and case, and she's looking at it. She's like, I'm very proud of the things that you just accomplished, and you accomplished these things on your own. And she goes, it's a honor and a privilege to announce that you're going to be off probation, and your records will be sealed." So as I turned 18, I remember that I had a sense of healing. That first, I made it. I didn't think I was going to make it to 18. And second, I got my record sealed. I learned something about law. I learned that the best way to beat a case is not catch a case. That's what I learned. So therefore, I kind of put things together. I'm still getting structures, you know, here and there. And a lot of my friends are asking, "Where you at? Where you going?" I kind of disappeared. A lot of my friends don't remember. I disappeared, and that's what was going on. I had a kid. I wanted to do right. I wanted to be right. I wanted to be that father that I never was, or had, I should say. And that's where I'm at today. I'm actually, I get these little things, and Victoria's Voices, working with kids now.
Glamorizing East San Diego, but that's where we're from.
Right.
Right. And, being that we're from there, then we could help our homeboys, our homegirls, their uncles, their grandmothers, their grandfathers, their nieces, their grandchildren. And that's what this movement's all about. So being at Horseman, now present, the same school that you're at, like us being able to identify all the kids that that are in that poverty line, that got holes in their shoes, and us coming together and being able, you know what, we want to buy this kid a whole wardrobe. How can we do that, right? How can we come together as a team?
I saw that, man. You know what? And I felt that too when I saw his little zapatos and a little dirty. I'm like, I was that kid right there. That's exactly what my shoes look like. My heart went out for him. Like, yeah. It hurt. Yeah. It hurt me. Yeah. And I remember those feelings. And I wouldn't say it hurt me when I'm breaking down and crying, but it hurt me where a sense where I was driven to do something to help him. And I'm glad you guys stepped up to the plate, because it was in my heart. Yeah. And you guys just did it on your own.
And with whatever's in your heart, like, it's going to come out with action, right? Yeah. That's how we roll. So I'm definitely glad to be on this Victorious Voices journey with you, youth empowerment, as one of the hardest working staff members for youth empowerment, as a mentor for resilience for the schools, growing together and just building a structure and environment where we're there for our youth, individuals, and families.